Who were you representing at the negotiations? Were you representing the leadership that you mentioned, that the directors of that company, the nonprofit company, the Freedom 2022, the president, Tamara Leach, and the vice president, Chris Barber, and the treasurer, Chad Eros? Beyond those people, who were your clients?
You've described them. That's accurate.
So you were not acting on behalf of all of the truckers?
That's correct.
So you had faith?
I had faith, and my faith in the same way, I would have quit practicing law, sir, a long time ago if I didn't have faith in the ability of people having civil and respectful discussions to resolve disputes.
But the objective of that agreement was to move 25% more trucks into the Wellington Street area. So it doesn't do anything to relieve that congestion.
Fair, but we've already established, sir, that the road's blocked today. So I'm not sure if your concern is about the presence of trucks and Canadians, or whether your concern is about the road being blocked. It can't be the road being blocked because it's still blocked to this day by the government.
But it was in reference to an email of February 12th that you had sent. And the line in there that I just want to clarify is where you say, "We are trying to block Trudeau from having the jurisdiction to cause the police to use the new emergency powers against the truckers and to allow the truckers to stay here in Ottawa as long as it takes." Do you remember that line?
I think you misspoke. I think you meant to say justification. Does it say jurisdiction?
Oh, having the, okay, sorry, justification. Good memory. So is that not a reference to the declaration of emergency that was made the day before by the Ontario Premier?
No.
It does not speak into the future. It says to use the new emergency powers, which just came into effect the day before.
It was we have, so I had lawyers with me on the ground. I also had teams of lawyers back at their normal place of business. When an issue would arise, I would delegate it out. I would say, okay, this team in Toronto, I want you to review this. We even prepared a draft judicial review application for the both the city's emergency proclamation and the Ottawa, or sorry, the provincial government one. Media assessment is, what does this change? What impact does it have on the rights of the people on the ground? And we concluded that it was largely benign.
Okay. What I'm saying is that those words refer to the new emergencies power in the present tense. The declaration from the federal government came on the 14th. It was 2 days before.
Well, I can help you by telling you what was in my mind. And our concern was, I believe that it was early in the previous week. By early, I mean the Tuesday, and if not Tuesday, the Wednesday for certain, that we started hearing rumors that the federal government was contemplating invoking the Federal Emergencies Act. So all of the references in any of the communications that you have at that time would be, and unless there's one that's more specific about that. There was, we weren't concerned about either the civic one nor the provincial one.
Can you point me to one document which documents what you're just telling us now?
Well, first of all, this was not a normal file.
Right, but you've managed to paper
Can I
this
finish
file.
my?
Sorry, okay.
Can I finish my answer, please, sir? This was not a normal file. You did not have opportunity to document things, and I'm telling you under oath that at no time was either the Ottawa State of Emergency Declaration nor the Ontario State of Declaration a matter of concern for me and the other lawyers with me. We were very concerned about the potential and the rumors we were hearing for the federal government to invoke the Federal Emergencies Act.
Who told you the federal government was considering using the Emergencies Act? Who told you that?
I can't remember the specific individual, but I do remember the source that they relayed, and they advised that they had heard from some MPs that there was active discussion over at the Parliament about the Prime Minister considering using the Emergencies Act. And it was so MPs, some MPs had shared with people involved in the convoy, and they reported that to me.
Do you have any document you can refer this commission to today?
I might, but I can't recall any offhand.
And you can't recall any offhand? You can't recall a description of the document or anything like that right now?
No.
Okay.
That's correct.
All right. I'd like to continue with just confirming some statements from your witness summary. You'd agree that there was a broad array of groups that were part of this convoy.
Correct.
And you subdivided them into 3 groups: those who came to support the movement, those who came to take it over, and those who came to seek a piece of the $10 million.
That was my assessment. Probably I reached that conclusion in my mind within, I would say, 3 to 5 days of being here. I had had sufficient interactions and repeated interactions with different individuals from different groups that was the pattern that I felt was present.
And you also have said that the convoy attracted a lot of strange people.
Yeah.
And in those people, you mentioned the Coven of Witches.
That's what they called themselves, and they were doing weird seance things and burning things in the lobby.
And conspiracy groups like Digilo, the QAnon, yes?
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah. So it not only consisted of a broad array of groups, but it attracted other strange groups that, at least as you've described them, correct?
Like moths to a flame.
So you'd agree that some of these individuals, we've heard a little bit already, may have tried to hijack the message or even try and control perhaps parts of the convoy group. Is that correct?
Yes, and it was a constant effort by Ms. Leach, Mr. Barber, and others to fend them off, so to speak. And I do recall reading documents in the record where CSIS and the RCMP had also intercepted communications and reached the same conclusion that there was a concerted effort by the mainstream group to resist these hangers-ons.
Okay. And Mr. Barber testified yesterday that he could not control truckers generally. They're very independently minded, and certainly not the groups that were coming. Would you agree with that assessment?
That's correct. Yes, I would agree.
And there's in Mr. Aros's interview summary that you've been taken to a little bit, a reference to, or at least a quote that you supposedly mentioned concerning taking back our freedoms group. Yes. Did you refer to them as bad actors?
I don't think I would have referred to, no, I don't know that I would have referred to them as bad actors.
Okay, he says you did.
Yeah.
And bad actors and manipulators, he says.
I would have characterized, without a doubt, some of the individuals involved with that group as being manipulative, 100%.
So even within your group, the convoy group and the leadership that you've mentioned, there were, would you say, sort of divisions or factions, I would say?
Absolutely. It was an incredibly diverse dynamic. Remember that if you walked into the operations center at any given moment and said, how many people in this room knew one another before January 15th? And the only 2 people would put up their hands would be Chris Guerra and Chad Eros. These people all came together for the first time. All
right. And you mentioned the negotiations with the city of Ottawa in the days leading up to February 14th. Yes. To move the trucks out of residential neighborhoods to take at least a bit of a valve to some of the temperature that had been raised with all the complaints and issues that arose from that. That's correct?
Yeah, and the tensions with the police and the political tensions. It was time to de-escalate and reduce the footprint and relieve the pressure.
But that was never intended to rid the city core of the gridlock of 30-ton trucks or resolve the grievances of all the various protesting groups.
There was no gridlock. I've described how I was able to travel freely.
Well, let's just say you're not saying that it was empty of 30-ton trucks sitting in front of Wellington.
No, the idea was to concentrate, and this was discussed in the negotiations with the mayor. The mayor's message that I received through Mr. French was that he recognized that the grievance, I think it's even in his letter, if I'm not mistaken, that was with the federal government primarily was the triggering event, the federal mandates that you've heard about.
But your deal...
Sorry, sir, I haven't finished, and that was slowing down because commissioners reminded me that I'm speaking too fast. So it was recognized that trucks would remain on Wellington. And to be clear, there was no understanding that it would be a grant of immunity. It was recognized that at any time after those trucks repositioned, the police could come and move them out. It was recognized that there would be an interference in the flow of traffic on Wellington, but I note, because I was up there the other day, it's blocked today, this very moment, by government barricades.
Okay. I'm just getting to the point that the deal was never intended to resolve all these grievances and protests and to get rid of the trucks from the city core, correct?
No, it was absolutely to remove the pressure on the downtown residents and businesses, focus the attention on the grievance with the federal government, build from the success of de-escalation and negotiation to incentivize and encourage the federal government to come to the table, open up a dialogue, and set a pretext for the truckers to go home.
Would you be surprised that the mayor would say that the deal was to just release some of the tension from the neighborhoods? It did nothing to deal with the core issue of getting rid of the trucks in front of Wellington. I
don't know. Do you want me to repeat my answer a third time?
No, I don't need that, but I've got your answer. So you don't agree that this deal was intended to resolve all these issues and gridlock on Wellington?
Complex problems require complex solutions. Complex solutions require phasing.
So you had faith?
I had faith. I had confidence in the goodwill look.
Do we have an agreement, a written agreement that said they would move?
I have been able to resolve at least more than 90% of all the litigation files I've been involved in by opening up dialogue between the parties. And I remained optimistic that through applying those skills and those tactics that we could have had a peaceful resolution and a respectful Canadian dialogue about important policy issues.
Who